Hello, welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah, your medium on the go. And I know it's been about a week, I guess, since I last posted, but the assassination attempt that I do put in quotes is really caused a lot of excitement. And of course, I was tempted to make a video about that, but everybody was making a video. And I think a lot of us probably agree that it's the whole thing is very peculiar. There's something unbelievable about this being very real. Having worked in hotels and working VIP, dignitary events, I know that what kind of security goes into it, and it's always the feds, the FBI, Secret Service. They come in, they tell the hotel security where they're going to be, what they're going to do. So it's out of the hotel's hands, which is good because I don't think they want that responsibility. And I also know that every back hall, elevator, broom closet literally is covered. The whole thing is that, and I'm going to make this really quick because we've all been over it, that the latest thing was that that this guy with his manifesto, his brother, I think he was he's from California. His brother's in Connecticut or something. The brother told the police you might want to keep an eye on him because he was saying this and that about Trump and all this sort of thing. So of course they're going to pass that on to the FBI and Secret Service. So the fact that, and also I know that when rooms are booked for that, they don't put them anywhere near the event. There are FBI, Secret Service on the elevators. They will not allow people to get off on the floor, even above, because usually there's stairs going down to, and they have these event levels. There's stairs that go down as well as elevators, and those are guarded. So the whole thing seems very fishy. So having presented those facts, you can draw your own conclusion. So I didn't need, because everybody and their mother that does this sort of thing on YouTube and Facebook, they've all drawn the cards are pretty much told this tale, and there's not much of a reason to go over this. But it's the reaction was the big thing, because now that the whole Butler thing was coming out, and that thing kind of smelled to me too, that people are not believing this stuff because they say so. Then we contrast it to King Charles' visit, and he went to the both houses of Congress, and after dinner, and made a speech that was very truthful. And I was listening to Heather Cox Richardson to discuss this, and I have to agree with her when King Charles said the part about the type of democratic republic that we have, that we really do pretty much set the standards, and pretty much telling us you're better than what you have been is basically the message. And it was very moving to hear. The very sad part about it is that it was directed to Trump as president. And the very sad thing about it is I don't think he got it. The Republicans, I guess they got it because they were standing up and cheering when he spoke about Ukraine and the environment. And he repeated that at the dinner last night. So these two events, I think, are pretty much related, because you've got all kinds of fishy stuff going on with that assassination deal. And then you've got the absolute honesty that King Charles gave in his speech, and everything he said was true. A lot of stuff that MAGA people don't like to hear, but I guess it's the British accent and the fact that he's king. Maybe we need to have that more. But so the card I've chosen it's the death card. And I would say both of these events, it's the death march. It's the death march of this regime. And I once again, I hadn't realized it, but I was thinking, oh, King Charles is the King of Swords, because very well and articulately communicated, and he was absolutely telling the truth, and he was showing a lot of restraint. I think he was throwing a lot of shade too throughout the visit, but that went over a lot of heads. So, and I hadn't realized that back in almost a year ago, I had already made a card where he is the King of Swords, speaking his truth. Of course, he's a flawed human being, but it seems as though in the latter part of his life, he really is quite a leader, actually. I mean, he doesn't have any power, but he's quite a leader and really communicates very, very well. So we've got the death march, and we have him. Then it's funny because I was looking for a photo of what happened Saturday night, and I thought, my goodness, these are all out of focus. And I understand that, boy, these guys only had like boom, boy, they had everything happened so fast. They didn't have much time to take the shot and apparently or focus the picture. So I thought, oh my goodness, can I use? Yeah, I thought because that whole incident was fuzzy anyway. So now why not put some out of focus, an out of focus photo, because that pretty much says the whole thing. And there are going to be all kinds of theories about this, but I would say, as far as what we're ever going to know about that, is that it just doesn't seem right. There's something off about it, and maybe they knew he was coming and they chose to lighten security, thinking and letting him on the floor above. I couldn't quite believe that he wouldn't be anywhere near, but it would go bang, bang, bang. And the fact that he's a black man, they didn't kill. I mean, and they held the whole line of Succession in the ballroom. I mean, sitting at the head table, that's unheard of. So at any rate, so the secondary card I'm going to pick, I will pick something, and then I want to pick this one's sticking out, so maybe I should pick, oops. Well, this one's on top, so I will do the Devil in Reverse. This is very apropos, I think. The Devil in Reverse in this context of truth versus, I don't know what that was, for entertainment purposes only, that people were just so quick to say it was staged. It was staged. And you can't blame them. So, and plus the fact that MAGAs are starting to leave the cult. So what this is saying is that people are realizing, at least the voters are realizing, they're not as chained to the devil anymore as they used to be. He's still got a strong hold, but the devil is Trump and MAGA, and seeing him in reverse, like the emperor in reverse, he's weak. He doesn't have a strong hold. This is not, and then, and on my thumbnail, Epstein is in the banner that the Death Knight is carrying, and it's going on. It's not galloping, but it's moving along. So the Devil in Reverse is showing the weakness, and I would say a big part of that, so we have another incident. Comey gets indicted for seashells. Now, I think that the judge is going to boot that out in the type of ruling where double jeopardy is going to say bye-bye. That I think it's with prejudice. I'm not sure. I think if they dismiss with prejudice, it means like double jeopardy. You don't even try this again, okay? And then somebody else got indicted for some Mickey Mouse bullshit too. So when they get this desperate, this is really operating from a position of weakness. And so the devil's getting weak. And I mean, you can turn on YouTube or maybe TikTok, maybe even more so TikTok. You will see all these red hats just cry me a river kind of a thing. It is just really amazing. So they're going to have to learn a lesson that those of us that have been harmed, which is about everybody, that we're, it's going to be like, we're glad you saw the light, but you really have to you're realizing the consequences, but you have to go beyond and see not only how it's affected you, but how it's affected other people, and you're going to have to earn their trust. That's all there is to it. Let's see how sincere you really are about this, aside from casting a proper vote in November. And in the primaries, get rid of these corporate people. Oh, Democrats and Republicans, just and watch who you're voting for the local election. Now, are you going to vote for a book burner for school board? Really? I mean, it's that important. So, I want to see what an oracle card for this is going to be. Oh dear. Oops. Damn it. The electricity is gone out. I don't know if this is recording. I'm going to assume it's recording. I guess I don't need the internet. Well, I'll find out, I guess, soon enough. Okay, so then we have kindred spirits. Oh, that's very interesting. I would say that probably the theme of this is that maybe more people are finding the like-minded people to get into the movement, because I mean we hear about the MAGA people that are kind of that they've left their families and this sort of thing. So, but I think that maybe on the flip side of this, as people get involved, maybe you find that people from different backgrounds, we may have a lot more in common than we think. So, okay, so. Okay, so what am I going to read on about? Let's see. Let's just kind of see what things are going to happen. I think the kindred spirit... Oh, here we go. Okay. Excuse that noise. That's something turning back on. I was thinking, it was a year ago tomorrow, on the 30th of April, I think in western Pennsylvania and into eastern Ohio, we had this enormous power outage. It really brought back memories of being in New York and the big one in '77. But I think it took me till like the next afternoon for our lights to come on. But the people at different parts of the city, it really took a lot. Some people were out for days or a week. And I thought, oh boy, I hope we're not going through that again. Okay, so let's keep our fingers crossed that they're not going to go out again. So I just want to do it. I think I want to do a general reading to see kind of like where this is headed, keeping the devil reversed and death in mind. Okay, so let me put this down. Hopefully that thing won't go out again. Okay. So let's see where we are at, because people aren't buying it like they did the Butler thing, although I can't believe people that are that naive. But at any rate, Three of Cups, how interesting. As the main indicator, Three of Cups is about celebrating. Maybe as we're going through all of this, and that people are really starting to see the light about this. I mean, the fact that like an overwhelming amount that we're going, like, even though, could, some people would think it's like conspiracy theory time. It's, pretty much of just that reaction is thinking that maybe that's waking people up. And there's a lot of female energy, but of course the warning of this is don't celebrate too much. But I guess we have to take our little victories from where they're coming. So let's see, what is the energy of this? The World. What's interesting is I think that maybe between the war in Iran and this so-called assassination attempt is maybe a bit, not like every mag is going to say, I've seen the light, but what this is saying is that this is a big turning point and possibly the end of a cycle. Because I've been seeing these videos where triple Trumpers have been saying they deeply regret. And I would also say that, I hope I remember, but I think I will draw that, the Supreme Court decision with the drawing of the districts. As Linda G., the Comanche psychic, said, it's a nothing burger, because they can do all of that. But there's every indication that all bets are off. There's going to be like no black districts and, that sort of thing. Everybody is getting so fed up that I think that so many people are going to come out and vote that they can do all this crap that they want to. But it really isn't going to make that much of a difference. So perhaps we're at the end of a cycle, and I'm feeling as though it's getting a lot deeper. It's like, is your racism and owning the libs and hating gays and all this, is that lowering your price of gas? Is it, is it paying the grocery bill or the light bill? Okay, so underneath here is the whole thing of being open. This is an energy that's been building up, because that's why people reacted the way they did for that press dinner the other night, is that it's like they want to see the truth, and to see that this may be a false flag and very performative. It also shows that even if this whole thing is kind of on the level, it shows the gross incompetence of, and you can take this back to Elon Muskrat, that cutting all of this stuff this is what happens. This is what happens. Then we have, oh boy, you cannot make this stuff up. Okay. This is the crime family card. This is the exposure of the crime family, and people are realizing they've been getting conned. They have really been getting conned. And they're not buying this whole thing. It's like some mafia guy saying, you know what, because you've been putting us down, it's been inciting violence. That's why one of our boys got rubbed out the other night, when it's like they just, shot up a whole bunch of people. And it's absurd like that. It is absurd like that. And it's projection. So this is the light shining on the corrupt. Okay. So going into the future, it's there's also this whole thing of people starting to maybe be a little charitable and maybe sharing what little they have, which may be part of that kindred spirits thing. It's funny that never came up in all the times I've drawn those cards. So since it's in the upright position, it is about being charitable and sharing. But I also think that people are really turning on the billionaires big time. So let's see what we have in opposition. We have the Five of Swords. The people have still left the liar and the tyrant and the dictator, but now they're wise to him, and it's getting closer to. He's been getting away with so much. He and his cronies have been getting away with so much that this could mean that this could be coming to an end. May not happen tomorrow, but it could be coming to an end. As someone mentioned, maybe it was Lawrence O'Donnell or one of the legal AF guys that said, every time he's been sued, the plaintiffs have won. So that's very interesting. So I believe that this could also mean that Comey is going to sue for malicious prosecution. And that's because what I'm seeing here is that all of this is starting to backfire. He thought he was going to be getting a big sympathy thing because whether it was staged or not, but people aren't buying it and he's not getting any sympathy. I would imagine his polls are going to sink even lower. So let's see. On the conscious level, we have Two of Swords in reverse. It's like actually people that have been torn, they know what to do, but there's the last of the illusions still need to be stripped away. It's kind of like we're not deep down inside. They know what they've got to do, but they are still maybe clinging to the drag queens are our problem kind of stuff. But this is saying, like, a lot of times when people know deep down inside what they need to do, they end up doing it. It hurts, but they end up doing it. So on the subconscious level, we have the Knight of Cups. And I think that this is the whole thing is that the subconsciously we want to feel the love of country and all that. I think a lot of that stuff is a load of crap that we were fed about America's never wrong, yada yada yada. So there is that romantic thing, but if it's going to get people back to realize that this is a dictator wannabe, maybe we want to get back to some of the principles, even if they've romanticized them, perhaps it isn't that harmful. Okay. So in the past with all of this, because I think that all of these things that have happened since the last 48 or what is it? Well, it's Wednesday. So in the last, since like Saturday night, one after another, it's all related. That's what I'm feeling, as though it's all related. So then we have Six of Wands. They've actually started losing. I want to say that since this is in the past, this is a big message to the Democrats. They really have to look into that 2024 election. They really do need to look into it. And something smelled about that too. But I would say to give the full benefit of like not foil hat conspiracy theories, like at least prove it wrong. You've got to, it's like when someone's taken in as a suspect, they're asked the questions. It's like, we want to eliminate you. So let's see if we eliminate the fact that that election was not quite kosher and that they really didn't win. But in a lot of ways, with tariffs and this and that god-awful cabinet filled with drunks and junkies, they really set themselves up to lose anyway. So we have that in the past. In the present, we have the Hermit in reverse. So when the Hermit is upright, he's gathering the knowledge, and then the Hermit reaches a point where he's got to find his way in the world and maybe share the wisdom. I would say that this is really funny, but I never thought of this before. I'm thinking we're kind of like in a sort of, we still have to be careful, a little bit more of a post-pandemic thing where I think it's not a bad idea to wear masks and not to be in big crowds on one hand. But on the other hand, it's like we need to be in more social situations, socializing. And I think what this is showing is that there's always going to be the snake in the grass, but in reverse, he's figured out how to get around it without getting bitten. And maybe sometimes that is getting around these people that are running the government is to, and maybe take a little bit of a passive sort of approach and go get them in the end, but not, like, don't let them know. Like Trump he just cannot keep his big mouth shut about what he's going to do. So we don't want to do that. Okay, so then we have, in the near future, we have the Two of Wands in reverse. I think a message that King Charles was saying, without coming out to say it, in talking about Ukraine and NATO and everything, is he pretty much is saying, you've really pissed off and alienated the wrong people. You can't. We have been there for you. So now it's time for you to step up and to be, with Ukraine and all this sort of thing. I think he had a phone call with Putin. It must have blown a gasket, I think. So this speaks of our alienation to the rest of the world. And I think that we were getting a very good warning. And I think that even the Republicans in those chambers cheering is telling me that maybe they're a little bit sick of being hated by the rest of the free world, that they still don't quite know how to get out of it. So a little bit further down the line is the economic mess. The economic mess that he's gotten us into. Now, far be it from me to disagree with colleagues, and I'll be really respectful. I know Linda G. earlier said she sees us going into a recession that would be borderline at the Great Depression. I think she's true to a point, but I don't think it's that dire. We still have a few things left in place to prevent the big bread lines and all that sort of thing. But I will say that this shows how badly they have handled money, and that we're suffering. But the good news is the busting of that myth that the Republicans are fiscally responsible. And I do go with the Jennifer on iHip when she's saying, no, the real villains, that why you can't have nice things, are the billionaires running the show. And that's what's causing this. Whether it's on a national level or people trying to budget their household budgets. It's like seeing who the real villains are. And this is encouraging because I think maybe people need to suffer a bit to realize who the real villains are. And I do agree that we need, she was talking about like the FDR New Deal. I would say we need both the Roosevelts. We need Franklin and we need Teddy, because The earlier one was the big trust buster and putting some safety regulate. We had the unions. We also had him too. So we need both. We need both Roosevelts. So we call on the spirit world, say, come back. Oh, no, but seriously, we need to get back to both of the Roosevelt's principles. So going a bit further into the future, we have the hanging man in reverse, which is saying, since there's been time to reflect and see things from a different perspective, what this is telling me is that, and it kind of goes along with the hermit in reverse. It's, we've reflected, so now it's time to get out of the yoga poses and go and do some action. Okay, so in the hopes and the fears, we have this is interesting. This is kind of the double-edged sword. One of the big hopes is that with the fighting in MAGA, and it is really big now, the hope is that, that now we can divide and conquer and get back to some sanity. But what we have to be careful for is that the differences that we feel in the Democratic Party between the old corporate Dems, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and all of this, and the new guard, is that we have to be very careful that we don't get into major squabbling and harm ourselves. So this, I would say, this is a good lesson. I would say that we can disagree in a civilized way and be assertive, but not get into this. I mean, this is like a young people, immature thing. So I think it's a good lesson to learn from the MAGA folks that are fighting, whether Marjorie Taylor Greene is fighting with the rest of them and Tucker Carlson and all of that. But we don't want to sabotage ourselves. So we have to be careful in how we disagree. One way of doing it, you don't like the corporate Dems? We got primaries. We've got primaries, and I would bet that there are a lot of young progressives that is saying, this is my golden opportunity. I will bet that there are more of them this time. Unfortunately, not everywhere, but I think there are more of them out there, and learn about them, because I know that in my congressional district, we have someone running against our current representative, Summer Lee, and some guy from Turtle Creek, a little village outside of Pittsburgh, who, that's interesting. I don't know who, I'd like to know more about him, so I'm going to find out more about him. Just so it's just, you need to have options. Okay, so, this is interesting. This is like the King Charles thing. How we see ourselves right now. Okay. We're getting ready to talk to the rest of the world that hasn't really been there since the powers that have alienated us. So we are ready, as citizens, we are ready to talk to the rest of the world that you don't see. They're kind of like off the illustration, or it's, sometimes they're not there. But it's like, we're ready to, I don't care about their so-called leaders, but we're ready to talk. So, how does the King Charles Britain, because the Brits have been watching this, I'm sure the BBC and all of that covered it, the Guardian, everything. So let's see how they're seeing us, as since he's come, they've gone vicariously through him. Justice. I know that he's limited in the, the protocol and all this sort of thing. But I get a sense that he's probably had a feeling that we're not quite all on board with him. So maybe it's seeing that how weak these people are trying to run the country, that he has a sense, because he's a pretty bright guy, that he has something of a sense of that, and that maybe we're ready to balance out the scale. And, don't forget, he has made this trip on the heels of the primary. I mean, really, do not forget about that. I kind of feel like I need to put a couple of little clarifiers here. Because this is a very positive one. That I think one of these is I want to see if the big blabbermouth slips and says things that'll be very good for me to bring back to the Parliament, boys and girls. And also, I think to maybe get a feel of the citizens, and knowing that this regime, I mean, all the stupid things that were said, is that he's saying that it will balance out, because these people will be starting to vote very soon. So I think that in a little part that timing it when he did, I'm sure he timed it so just before our election season begins. So let's see. Tying these two together, we have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, and that's, I would say that the villain is the oligarchy that they have, and the billionaires, they have isolated. They are very, very isolated, and that perhaps we're starting to see that maybe they don't have all the answers. Oh, and another thing that's falling in line with everything that's going on, and this, I think what this also represents is the big Met Gala is being boycotted because of Bezos. And I understand the tickets have gone down from 75,000 a table to like half, like 35 or 37,000 a table. And I'm sure these people will write their checks to the Met, but because of Bezos and that bimbo Botox, whatever she's done to her, so with the boob balloons and all that sort of thing, I think that people don't want to be caught dead. It's something like that. It's kind of like, your liberal old money New York people, even the Republicans, I'm sure they see him as this really crude, gross, nouveau riche asshole. So I think this could very well represent. This represents the isolation of the billionaires, and they're just not that into them anymore. So let's see what the conclusion is. I would say that this is all what this spread is talking about is people really reevaluating stuff, like maybe being a billionaire isn't all that it's cracked up to be. And I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying that there could be a real shift in energy. And I know some people get dramatic and talk about the big shift, and maybe there is something to that. It is a big change in consciousness. So I would say that it is part of the slow march of the death card right here. And that the values are, it's not like a big bolt of lightning is hitting, but it's starting to, the fog is starting to clear. And that what this is telling me, and people seeking the truth, because they're not seeing the truth in that incident on Saturday night. So, they're not quite seeing the truth, but they are sort of seeing the truth. They don't, maybe they're confused as to what the truth is, and that what they have, that it's like a false flag, it's an illusion, it's not really what it seems to be. So I think that there is a change, and that it could be coming down to some basic values, because I think people would say, to hell with billionaires. I would be so grateful just to be able to take a vacation with the family for a week or two. So, and I think people also see that these are not really happy people. I mean, what is this bit where they're whining about paying taxes, and yet they're not going to be deprived of anything. And now that we're in the state that we are economically, it seems, it's got to start seeming stupid to people who were like all on with Reagan, and this nonsense did begin with Reagan. Okay, so I'll do a little conclusion read here. So we have the Knight of Pentacles. So this goes along with the general energy of the Death card. Is it going along slow and easy? We're not in such a bad shape that we need to have the French Revolution. So it is also talking about people maybe holding on to their money a little bit more and realizing there's a lot of crap they thought they needed that they really don't. So it's slow and easy wins the race. So let's see what the energy is with this. Yep, we're up against a lot, and we really need to think this whole thing out and move at a decent pace so we don't have to have a repeat of this again. Let's see. So what we've got here. Yeah, it seems like actually interesting because of everything's been happening so fast. But what this is saying is that there might be a little bit of a breather to this now. That we've got enough balls up in the air that there may be working up to. Everybody can take a breath and reflect on that, and possibly not really take any rash actions. I think everybody needs to process this stuff. We're realizing that we, the people, are a lot stronger than we thought we were, and now we have an opportunity to kind of tame that beast at the ballot box. And as I say before, if you're going to do No King's March, Jesus Christ, have people out there getting people registered to vote. You've got to have those things on the sideline, or it's just a lot of noise and they dig in their heels. But you got to have, I'm telling you, as an old veteran from protest, you've got to have that, and petitions and all kinds of things. You just cannot have a bunch of people yelling and screaming. There has to be more. Okay. The strength comes in seeing we have been lied to big time. And perhaps this incident Saturday night is an incident of people believing that he's capable of that. Okay, so Tower in reverse means that there are probably going to be some setbacks, but they're going to be learning situations so that we have a choice of not making the same mistake and building to the bigger tower. But there we will be tested. We might get a little breather here and there, but we will be tested. And there he is again. I think there is some young whippersnapper working in the White House that's probably going to be a whistleblower. And the good thing about whistleblowers is they do really give people the courage to get that started. Now, this guy here, he may be, because this is about community, but he's thinking before. He's going to be smart about it. He's taking a pause. He's going to think about it. And that perhaps our Constitution, our bigger institutions should be prevailing, because they were, it's like they're trashing them now. But what this is saying is that they will win in the end. And then we have these people that have done all of this. They are going to be facing consequences. They will not be judged well. History is not going to judge them very well. So there is hope. So I think when people talk about all this Great Awakening stuff is about basically seeing the contrast to the theater of Saturday night in contrast to seeing a monarch who actually he has no power in the government. I think that they'll listen to him, but he can't sign executive orders. But a very important thing that he's saying is talking about the checks and the balances. So in that respect, he had a very honest, in everything he said was the truth, as opposed to his, ugly American, I'm just speaking figuratively for entertainment purposes, like a cousin, like this demented off here and there, and every other word is coming out a lie. The contrast is so stark that people have to be noticing. They have to be noticing that, even in that stupid WTAE local TV station thing. There have been a few snide remarks about, but nothing of real substance. Not that they have any anyway, but nothing that's like really tearing him to bits, because there is nothing to tear him to bits over. That guy spoke the truth about what we have. Now, Kanks may not have gotten it, but it seems like the rest of us did, and that's really what's important. So I would say people are just starting to wake up to what is really true and what is not. So that's a positive move, is Mr. Death keeps riding along. So hopefully I'll be back sooner than I was this past time, but I'll see you again soon. So I'm going to sign off for now. Bye.